In this lecture, we are going to handle the form submission for the song. The form we've created will update a specific song uploaded by a user. We're going to do what we did last time. We'll inform the user the status of their submission by using alerts. We are going to add additional data properties to the composition item component to manage the alerts. It's going to be similar to what we did with the login and registration forms. Let's get started. In our data function, we are going to add our properties. The first two will be called inSubmission and showAlert. Set both to false. The inSubmission property will be used to disable the submission button. By default, it'll be false to enable it. The showAlert property will be used to display the alert message. It'll also be false to hide the alert message. We'll create another property for the color of the alert box. Call it Alert Variant. Set it to BG Blue 500. This value will give us a blue alert box. Lastly, add a property called Alert Message. The value for it will be the following. Please wait, updating song info. We'll use this property for the inner text of the alert box. It's time to start adding the alert box to the template. Scroll up to the vForm component. Above this component, we will add the alert box. We'll add a div tag with the following classes: text white, text center, font bold, P4, MB4. We're going to add some properties to the element to make it dynamic. On the component, we'll add the VF directive with the expression showAlert. Then we'll bind the property to alert variant. In between the tags, add the expression alert message. One last thing. There are two buttons on the bottom of the form. One button will allow the user to submit the form. The other will allow them to go back. We are going to disable both buttons by binding the disabled attribute to the inSubmission property. If the user clicks on the second button, we should toggle out the form. We are going to add the click event listener. In this listener, we will set the showForm data property to false. This change will hide the form. Let's go back to our edit function. The edit function will need to do two things. Firstly, it should update the properties for the alert box and form. We should inform the user their submission has started. Secondly, it should send the data to Firebase. We will start with the alert box. The first properties we'll update are the inSubmission and showAlert properties. Set both to true. This will disable the button and make the alert box visible. Afterward, the alert variant property will be set to BG Blue 500. It's already set to the BG Blue 500 class by default, but we want to make sure to reset it if the user resubmits the form. The message will also be the same as the default. The alert box is ready. We can start to make a request to the database. The type of request we'll want to make is to update the data. We've learned how to insert and select data in Firebase. Updating data won't be too different than what we've done before. A document can be updated after we've selected it. By selecting a document, Firebase will know which document we will want to update. At the top of the script block, we are going to import the Songs Collection object from our configuration file. We will need it if we want to be able to interact with the Songs collection. Back in the Edit function, after updating the alert properties, call the Songs Collection.document function. The document function allows you to select a document by its ID. We'll pass in the ID. The ID is stored in a property called Document ID. We stored the ID when we were querying the database. The document function will return an object where we can access its data. In addition, we have access to functions for interacting with the document. We're going to chain a function called update. The update function will allow us to update any of the properties inside it. We're not required to update every property. If we omit a property, Firebase will leave the original value alone. We don't have to pass in the whole object. Another option is to add additional properties to the object. It's a flexible function. There are two properties we'll want to update. They're the modified name and genre properties. The question is, where do we get the current values from the form? vValidate will pass on the field value as an argument to our edit function. It's passed on for us automatically. We can accept the argument by adding the values parameter to the edit function. This object will contain the values from the fields. The values can be found under their respective names we assigned to the fields with the name property. The names already match the document's properties. We can pass this parameter onto the update function. The update function will return a promise. To run asynchronous tasks, the function should support async await. Add the async await keywords to their respective locations. It's possible for this function to throw an error. We'll want to handle that next. Surround the update function with a try-catch block statement. If we get an error, we'll do two things. First, we'll stop the function from running. Second, we'll update the alert properties to inform the user an error has occurred. The InSubmission property will be set to false. This will re-enable the form. Update the variant to BGRED500. The message will be the following: something went wrong. Try again later. Lastly, we'll return the function. If the update function runs successfully, we'll update the alert properties to inform the user. We won't bother with redirecting or reloading the page. We'll even enable the form again if they want to make further changes. Like before, we'll set the InSubmission property to false. The variant will be set to BG500. Lastly, the message will be the following: success. The process is pretty straightforward. Keep in mind, this is one way of tackling form submissions. You may want to do it another way. That's fine. This is just how I tackle form submissions. Let's give things a test. In the browser, edit any of the songs. After making changes to a song, we will be able to submit the form without them conflicting with one another. The form submission will work successfully, or so it seems. If we go back, the changes are not reflected. The reason we don't see the changes get reflected is because the data in the Manage component doesn't get updated. We'll need to send the changes up to the Manage component to apply the changes. Switch back to the editor. We'll fix this problem by defining a function inside the Manage component. This function will update the data in the Manage component. We'll pass it down to the Composition Item component. The Composition Item component will be able to call this function with the changes that need to be made. In the Manage component, we're going to define a function called UpdateSong in the Methods object. It'll have two parameters called I and values. The I parameter will be the index of the object to update. The Manage component won't know which song to update. It'll be up to the Composition Item component to provide the index of the song to update. The values parameter will be the form data with the name and genre of the song. Inside this function, we'll update this.songs I.modifiedName property to the values.modifiedName property. Next, we'll update the this.songs I.genre property to the values.genre property. Our function is ready. Let's pass it down to the upload component. In the template, search for the Composition Item component. We're going to bind a property called UpdateSong to the component. While we're here, we should provide the index to the component. Strangely, the composition item component doesn't know its own index. If it has to provide the index to the manage component, it'll need to know the index. First, we're going to update the v-for directive to grab the index. The alias for the index will be called I. Next, we'll bind a property called index to the index alias. Switch over to the composition item component. Scroll to the props option. We should validate the function. We'll add the update song prop to the list. The type option will be set to function since we're expecting a function. The required option will be set to true. We'll do the same for the index prop. For the index prop, we'll set the type to number. Lastly, we'll set the required prop to true. The component is not functional if it can't update the song. We have everything we need. The last step is to the update song function. Scroll down to the bottom of the edit function. We're going to call this function with the index and values props. Let's try testing the form. In the browser, edit any of the songs. If we switch back, the changes are reflected in the list. Great! Most of the songs will have the MP3 extension added to it. I'm going to remove them from each of the songs I've uploaded. I'll receive a success message from each form submission. Refreshing the page will show that each update persisted in the database. You can check the database if you would like further confirmation. I know I flew right by this. It was a lot of code to hook up the form. If you were confused with any part of the process, I recommend reviewing the last 3 sections. A lot of what we did was broken down in those lectures. The newest thing we learned was how to select an individual document from the collection by using the document function. Firebase will return an object with properties and methods for interacting with the document. We took advantage of one of the functions for updating the properties in a document. It isn't important to update every property. Firebase is flexible in this regard. In the next lecture, we will wrap things up with the Manage page.